What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman back at it again with another video, and it has been a very hectic, a very crazy, a very busy week for the Buffalo Sabres. Obviously, on Monday, we all know what happened with the Jack Eichel press conference. I do not need to recap that whatsoever. Then on Tuesday, we got a little bit of a breath of fresh air from the younger guys. Dylan Cousins, Casey Mittelstadt, Rasmus Dahlin all spoke to the media, and they definitely brought a change of pace in comparison to what Monday had to offer. And then this morning, Wednesday morning, we had interim head coach and Kevyn both speak to the media, and a lot of different fans had different emotions about how both of them did. I think we can all agree on the fact that Don Granato knocked his press conference out of the park. He's done a phenomenal job ever since he took over as the interim head coach. He's just done an absolutely wonderful job. As far as Kevyn Adams goes, a lot of different fans, including myself, were not too pleased with what he had to say. He really did not lean one way or another in regards to Jack Eichel's future here in Buffalo. He did not indicate that Jack Eichel is definitely out the door. He also didn't indicate that Jack Eichel is definitely going to be here next year. He didn't really lean one way or another. He obviously got bombarded with questions regarding the Jack Eichel surgery situation. As you would expect, he brought a completely different perspective in comparison to what Jack Eichel was talking about on Monday. So now as fans, we're left on the outside to speculate which truth you want to believe. Do you believe Jack? Do you believe Kevyn Adams and the Sabres? We as fans are left on the outside just to speculate, just to pick a side. The truth is somewhere in the middle, and we don't know what it is. We don't know what has actually happened. The Sabres are a dysfunctional franchise, and the truth is definitely somewhere in the middle. I also saw some people on Twitter talking about the next head coach, and whoever it is could indicate whether or not Jack Eichel is staying or he's leaving. I really don't think the head coaching situation has any effect on Jack Eichel's feelings toward the Buffalo Sabres at this very moment. But between Don Granato doing a very good job in his press conference this morning and some people on Twitter talking about the head coaching situation affecting Jack Eichel, I decided why not take the time today to talk about who the next head coach could be for the Buffalo Sabres. Before we hop into that, you guys know the drill, Mott's applesauce. Even as a depressed Sabres fan, Mott's will make you feel better. I promise. I have experienced myself. I was very, very sad, very depressed on Monday as a Sabres fan. But, you know, Mott's applesauce came and saved the day, as it always does. All right, so the Sabres are obviously a bloody mess going into the offseason, and one of the many issues that Kevyn Adams has on his plate is the coaching situation. Who is going to be the head coach going into the next season for the Buffalo Sabres? Like I mentioned earlier, Don Granato absolutely killed his press conference. He murdered it this morning, right? So, you know, what else has he murdered? Well, let's just say his entire tenure as the interim head coach. He's done a fantastic job winning over the hearts of not only the Buffalo Sabres players, the organization, but as well as the fan base. With that being said, Don Granato is most certainly the leading candidate to be the next head coach of the Buffalo Sabres permanently. But that does not mean there isn't going to be competition. There is certainly a lot of good competition out there on the market as far as coaches go. The list is most certainly not a short list either. There are a lot of guys out there that are very talented head coaches, guys that have a very long track record, that have a lot of wins under their belt, a lot of experience. Don Granato does not have this in the bag. And the list of potential coaching candidates has been growing day in and day out, with the Rangers, the Coyotes, the Columbus Blue Jackets all parting ways with their head coaches. There are certainly a lot of different options the Sabres have to choose from. Now, don't get it confused. The coaches I'm about to name are not coaches that I want the Sabres to hire, but they're coaches that the Sabres could potentially bring in to be interviewed that would also have mutual interest to be the head coach. These coaches would include Gerard Gallant, who was most recently with the Golden Knights, as well as Bruce Boudreau, who was most recently with the Minnesota Wild, David Quinn, who was most recently with the New York Rangers. He just got fired like 1 or 2 days ago, I think. It was very recent. John Tortorella, aka Torts, might catch some consideration by the Buffalo Sabres. I don't want him coming anywhere near the Sabres whatsoever. Rick Tocchet also parted ways with the Coyotes recently, so these are also another two guys that might be considered for the Sabres head coaching job. I know that there are a lot of different up-and-coming coaches that are coming from college or the AHL or whoever it may be. They are not in the NHL currently. They have no NHL experience, but they are getting consideration by other teams. Nate Lehman was one of those guys before Don Granato got the job. He was a guy that everybody was speculating could be getting the job in relief of Rolf Kruger. But personally, I feel like if you're going to bring in a new head coach as the Buffalo Sabres, they need to have experience. They need to be veteran head coaches. I feel like it would be pointless to bring in a new guy that is young, that has no NHL experience as a head coach whatsoever. I feel like that's redundant because that is exactly what Don Granato is right now. So if we for some reason decided to replace Granato with somebody else that also had no head coaching experience, would be completely redundant because Granato has done a a very good job, and he had no head coaching experience. So what are you gaining by replacing Granato with somebody else that has no experience there? That doesn't make any sense. It's completely redundant. So I completely expect whoever is going to replace Granato, or whoever is going to be interviewed to replace Granato, has a lot of experience in the league. They are considered a veteran coach. They are a proven coach. But even out of the list of names that I talked about earlier, being Gerard Gallant, John Tortorella, those guys that I just talked about, even out of those guys, there are very few from there that I would even consider wanting to take an interview from. The only two guys at this point that I would be fine with replacing Granato with are Gerard Gallant and Bruce Boudreau. Other than that, I would not want anybody else taking over for Don Granato. I think he's done way too well of a job to just replace him with somebody else. I'm sure you also remember all of the speculation that surrounded Bruce Boudreau when Ralph Krueger got fired. It was between like Nate Lehman and Bruce Boudreau, and of course Don Granato. Those were the three names being tossed around to be the replacement head coach. And even up to this point in time, Bruce Boudreau is one of two coaches that I would feel okay with taking over for Don Granato. Other than that, I think Don Granato deserves the job. I really do. Now, I would understand why as fans at first you were not buying into Don Granato, because whoever took over for Krueger was bound to look good, because Krueger looked that bad. But I feel like Granato has went above and beyond just looking better than Ralph Krueger's relief. I think he's looked like a very good NHL head coach. Not only has he bought the trust of players in only half of a shortened season, he's also bought the trust of the Sabres fan base, and that is extremely hard to do. And I'm not saying that is the only reason why he deserves the job. I mean, just look at the play on the ice from the team. It increased substantially. He deserves the job for a lot of different reasons. And like I said earlier, Don Granato gained the trust of that roster very quickly. He only had 28 games in a shortened season to gain the trust of a roster that was on an 18-game losing streak. You know, that's got to be hard. That's got to be a lot easier said than done. To get younger guys to turn around as quick as they did, to gain their confidence back and let them play their game, I feel like that's a lot harder than it really seems to be. I understand that Krueger just made their lives living hell, but still, Granato went in there and did more than just allow them to play hockey. He brought the life back out of them. He made them fight game in and game out. Even when they went down 1 or 2 goals, Granato made sure that team kept fighting no matter how many goals they went down. But I think the thing I like about Don Granato the most is how good he is at talking to people. You know, whether it's his players, whether it's the media, whether it's the fan base, he does a very good job at being, you know, very calm, very concise, very transparent. He is a very, very good talker, and he knows what to say at the right time. And as we saw from Ralph Krueger, that's not as easy as it seems to be. Ralph Krueger went out there time after time, spoke to the media, and sounded like an absolute buffoon game after game, press conference after press conference. He embarrassed himself, the organization. He was creating drama all over the place. Ralph Krueger showed that it is not easy to go and talk to the media. You know, Ralph Krueger really set the standard for how low it could possibly get. And like I said earlier, Don Granato absolutely crushed his press conference this morning, and he's been doing that game in and game out, press conference after press conference. He's been doing a fantastic job. And with that being said, I'm not saying that's the main reason why he deserves to get the head coaching job, but I feel like that is one of many ingredients to the main result of him becoming the head coach, and it is going to be very hard to replace him. And on top of everything else, Don Granato is cheap. The Pagulas love cheap. They're cheap. That is the Pagulas. They're cheap as hell. And all of these other veteran head coaches are going to want a pretty penny because they are the premium head coaches. They're going to want to be paid to be the coach of your hockey team. So in this case, it's going to work in the favor of Don Granato because he's going to be the cheaper option. So, you know, on top of all the other good that he has done for the Sabres, I feel like that is also playing into his favor, and why another reason I believe he is definitely going to win the job in the offseason. So yeah, Don Granato is the guy I want to be the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. He is the guy I also feel like will win the job. At this point in time, I definitely do think it's his job to lose. He is by far the top candidate in everybody's eyes. We will see the result of that as the offseason progresses. As far as Jack Eichel goes, even though I really don't want to face the harsh reality of his future here in Buffalo, it's not looking too good. I would expect a video from me talking about Jack Eichel later on in the week, maybe sometime next week. I want to see if more details come out about this whole surgery situation. In other news, the NFL schedule does come out tonight at 8 p.m. There's been about 100,000 different leaks talking about it. I want to wait until the official release happens because I can't trust none of these leaks. And with the NFL schedule coming out tonight, I will have a video going up tomorrow on the Built in Buffalo YouTube channel talking about the win-loss record that I expect the Bills to have next season. So be sure to tune in for that tomorrow. I think it'll be around 2 p.m. that it will be released. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you want to hit the bell to be notified when I upload, I would appreciate that. If you want to go over to Twitter, follow me over there. I would appreciate that as well. Be sure to go subscribe and follow Built in Buffalo on any social medias you may have. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.